Just making sure this is running. Um, okay, all right. So today I wanted to talk about service and helping, and how that interconnects with our sense of self-worth, and how that interconnects with truly generative action in the world. So, uh, and a lot of these pieces are new revelations for me, I would say. Okay, so one of the things that I realized recently. Hello, whoever is watching, say hello in the comments. Um, One of the things I realized recently, upon digging deeper when I was hitting a kind of a stuck spot in my own life, was that I had been operating. Hello, please say hello if you're here. Um, was that I had been operating uh, on the premise, on the unconscious premise, that if I wasn't helping, I'm worthless. I'm worthless if I'm not helping. And that was very important for me to see. It's very important for me to see because crystals, hi. Oh, Joy, nice to see you. That was very important for me to see because what I realize now is that to engage in any action, whether it's me being of service or being there for somebody or not, but also if that's the case, from a place of lack, that is not the highest service I can be. So again, it was very important for me to see that one of the ways that I was compensating for a feeling of um, not being connected to my inherent self-worth was out of a need to contribute, a need to help. And I think there are a lot of people in my life who will attest to this, and that it could get quite annoying because I'd have this compulsion or need to be there or help. Right? It was directly, if I was helping, then I felt worthy. Right? And so at the same time, this is a bit tricky because helping is a good thing to do, right? Helping is a good thing to do. And yet, again, it's for each of us to develop the discernment of what is the energy from which you are moving into that act of service, that act of helping, that act of being there for other people. And if you're moving into that act from a place of needing to prove, or out of a sense of obligation, or some like unwritten ethic in your family dynamic, that is not actually of service. It is actually far more of service to be deeply, or to be as connected as you can to who you are, to your true needs in that moment on that day, and then to follow that. That is actually the greater service than going out and like being the savior, doing the good deed, helping out. Um, so I am very curious how this is landing with people. So if you have comments, questions, or can relate to this, or um, please pop it in the chat. Say hello if you jumped on and are willing to. Um, yeah, okay, so this, for me, this dynamic gets particularly tricky when we look at a Buddhist path and the fundamental parami or virtue of dana, of generosity, and of the bodhisattva vow, which is basically, may I awaken, may I experience an utter state of interconnection with life and direct seeing through the illusion of self for the benefit of others. So that is still an utterly powerful thing, of course, right? In that when we understand that our own well-being is interconnected with others, when we understand that those things they're not separate. My well-being is not separate from your well-being. Your well-being is not separate from my well-being. And so, of course, when we're naming that in a really strong way, it also acts as a superpower resource, because all of a sudden we have not only our own welfare to look out for, but the welfare of everybody, right? I imagine parents can really relate to this, in that I would imagine that you have been able to summon far greater resources than you thought possible in order to be there for your children, right? Um, so that is important to name. And yet, again, if we're moving into action out of a place of lack or obligation, or I should, or then that is not the highest service. The highest service, again, just repeat, is to be as interconnected with our own needs as possible, and to follow what those needs are telling us. Now, again, this can get tricky because our preference mind gets in the way, right? And our habitual desires tell us, well, I want X, Y, or Z, right? And sometimes that can feel like the genuine impulse of need or desire can be muddled up in preference. And so that developing that discernment is a process, but we get direct and immediate feedback from our actions, right? And the more nourishing act will genuinely feel more nourishing. It may also feel effing scary as hell, right? Often it does, right? Because anytime we're moving into our fear, we're pushing our boundaries, we're pushing our comfort zone, which is a life-affirming act. Michelle, oh, lovely to see you. You have been on my mind. I'll message you. Yeah, I miss your face too. Yeah, so I think that's mostly what I wanted to say here. I think I want to say one more thing about this idea of honoring self first, right? This is important. This is it. So honoring self first doesn't mean honoring our preferences first. Honoring self first means honoring, again, the life force that's moving through us, that is seeking to express through us. It means honoring our deeper call, our deeper purpose, our call for expansion, our call for contribution that comes from a place of connection to a sense of wholeness, contribution that comes from again, the fact that you're an utterly unique life form that will never again happen, who has unique energy, messages, contributions to bring to the world, and that it's very important to do those. Yeah, so I think I think I'll leave it there. Again, I'd love it if you have comments, questions, or reflections on how this relates to you. Please put it in the chat. Let me leave this with a bit of a challenge, right? So is to, next time you feel the impulse to go or help or be there for somebody, is to pause for a moment and look deeply at the energy underneath that. What are you really seeking out of that act, that experience? What is it? And are you moving into that from a place of already feeling fully nourished? Because you cannot, it's the oxygen mask first thing. But there are deeper levels to this, I think, than certainly I realized previously. So, or are you moving into that act from a place of nourishment and fulfillment, and yes, a desire to also support their nourishment and fulfillment in the most profound ways possible? Dahlia, oh, so lovely to see you. Oh, I hope you guys are doing well over in New York. Sending my love to you and your guys. Okay, I will sign off here. A big love and appreciation. Yeah, and I hope to hear some thoughts and feedback in the comments. Okay, bye for now. Have a beautiful rest of your weekend.